Where did you find the basis of the whole Ellis and Rose act? Because it is kind of a character act in itself.
Yeah, I mean, we use our own names, but it's a totally heightened kind of thing. I mean, when we started off, it was more characters than it is now, in the sense that Gareth was very much the imbecile, and I was kind of the pompous bully, sort of this self-aggrandising dimwit. That's kind of changed in time, and it's become more just us being on stage in these suits, being a bit mad. And I think that's actually a more comfortable dynamic, it's more natural.
Yeah, essentially it's a bit of a mishmash of different things I'm interested in, and a lot of it just is storytelling, and it's just pretty much reappropriating the twists of horror with a more of a silly twist, but it's the same premise, the same structure, and an unexpected twist that changes how you perceive the narrative, just changing it to make it ridiculous. And I realised that, and I was like, this is a niche, and this is something that there's so many stories I could tell.
Standfast was a nickname given to me by a guy I used to work with at Corner House in Manchester. He was doing a Masters in English, and he just gave everyone in the bar a elaborate nickname. My nickname in the bar was Standfast Goddard. That was it, that's where I got it from.
I kind of made a look for the character, which was much more of a kind of extreme metal guitarist, and the stuff we were playing was basically light blues, and that in itself was kind of funny, but I kind of, since then I thought, oh, maybe I could make like a satirical heavy metal character out of this, because I've always been interested in metal, and I've used it as a topic in stand-up before, but I kind of left that behind, so I thought maybe doing something musical would be quite good, and with like, this kind of character as well, I feel a lot more confident doing it in a way. So yeah, that's where the basis came from.
Working for a pharmaceutical company, and I was reading through one of the sheets of one of the medicines, and I found out that caffeine is used for keeping premature babies alive. And so I thought, I didn't really think much of it. So, well, like, obviously I thought it was amazing. I thought, wow, this is fantastic, it's brilliant, what we're doing. And then one day I just thought, I wonder what would happen if someone took a baby down to Starbucks, and that was the beginning of the joke. Just this ridiculous situation of someone sitting there having a cappuccino with a baby, like a baby, like a bowl full of coffee or something. It was just this ridiculous image, and I was like, yeah, I guess that's kind of funny. And it just sort of went from there, and then it's like, right, okay, what else? What else is there? How can you go from this sort of scientific stuff, how can you make any of that funny? How can you twist it and make it ridiculous?
By chance, I went along to visit Mel Knight and do an episode of his podcast, and Mikey was there, and I had never met him before, so I walk in and there's this kind of thuggish looking guy with tattoos everywhere, and I'm going, okay, but I don't care, I'm an open guy, I feel like I can get along with anybody. But within 15 minutes, Mike and I were doing voices back and forth at each other and being goofy and making each other laugh. So it was one of these instant bonds. And then we started developing ideas for sketches and things that we found funny but couldn't really be done in a stand-up or in a song. So stuff that would be better to do as characters. And then that led me towards a different side of comedy, about character comedy.
Hipster, trendy, Shoreditch type that's an utter twat that thinks he's amazing, thinks he's doing something really avant-garde and influential, and he's actually just a sheep amongst the herd copying everyone else. So yeah, just like loud, brightly coloured clothing. He has a Tamagotchi called Tarquin, it's just like, he does. And he does like graphic design but thinks he's amazing. He's in a band called Hedge Frog with two other characters that you don't see, but he talks about them as well, and the level of influences that his band have are just endless. And then he says that they've been described as a new genre known as indigestion, because just list all of them, and yeah.
I'm also heavily into music. Yeah, heavily into music. I mean, I knew about Mumford & Sons when it was just Mumford. Yeah. I also knew about Dizzy Rascal when he was just a rascal. Before the Vertigo. Yeah. I also knew about Florence and the Machine when Flo still used the laundrette. basically, I'm in a band myself, and we're called Hedge Frog. Yeah, and there's 3 of us in the band, and our sounds are kind of an amalgamation of soul, funk, hip hop, trap hop, jazz, vaudeville, trance, heavy metal, acid house, with heavily influences of Bach, Chopin, and Bananarama. We've been described as having a new music genre known as indigestion. So there's 3 of us in the band. There's myself on percussion. There's Renham, spelt the usual way, Reynholm. He's on bass, and then there's Dave, spelt the usual way, D-A-A-J, silent H, J, V, silent 5, E.
This question is sort of both when and how, but when/how did you realise that this is what you wanted to do?
I feel like it was really early on. Like, it was really early on doing it, because you get kind of a buzz, like your first really good gig. It's like such a buzz that you, almost like a kind of drug, it's exactly like a drug, you get that kind of buzz from it, and you kind of keep chasing that. Like, where if you get a shit one, you're like, I need a good fix, not that bad one to replace that, you know what I mean? So, I think it was pretty, just right in the very beginning when I first started doing it, I felt like that was where I wanted to be.
Like, I've been doing magic since I was about 4 years old. I got influenced by my dad, who's been a kids performer for the past 30 years. So it's always been part of me, and it's something I've always done, and it's the biggest love of my life. So it's always been the one thing I've always wanted to do. It's the one dream that's never wavered.
Someone suggested that I do it. They heard me sharing in this recovery group, and they said Tash, you're funny, you should get the time out, looking up a mic and start doing comedy. And then I had the chance to be one, those acts that, supporting acts on the gig that he was doing. So it was great. It was at the Palace Theatre. There was 1,500 people there, and it was to raise money to put on an event for this recovery group that I'm in. I don't know if I'm allowed to mention the group, one person, but yeah, that sounds a bit vague, doesn't it? Russell really sort of suggested that I do it.
Very drunk one evening, and my friend Alan Green, who also performs, I was just giving it to him, I could do that, it looks really easy, and he booked me a gig, that's why I did it. It was just out of drunken arrogance rather than any sort of desire to be anything better. I happened to have particularly, I'd outgrown my balls. Does that make sense? On that particular evening.
You're refusing to back down.
Yeah, no, well, I don't know. I was just really smarmy, and it was sort of, that looks easy. You can do that, which I have, to be honest. So
I did a couple of stand-up things, and the first one, as we've covered, went tits up. But the other ones, they were okay. It was quite nice, and I suddenly sort of went, oh, this is really good. This is great. And I had friends who did stand-up, so I kind of looked up to them in a way, always, because actors tend to, whenever you talk to somebody who's an actor who's played in front of thousands of people, they'll just sort of go, oh, you're a stand-up, that's so brave. I go, really? Well, maybe, but, different skills.
About 5-6 years ago, let's say there was a personal tragedy that happened, and I completely went from just living this normal life, doing, going to work, going on Facebook, watching TV, paying for a TV license, to just not giving a fuck. I don't know what it was, but there was just a moment where I just went, there's part of you that's always known this shit, but you just said, it's for someone else to worry about, someone else to do it. Then I just gave a fuck, and I don't know, that just made me decide that I wanted to make people laugh for a living. I didn't want to work anymore. I just wanted to be like most of my heroes, and most of my heroes are comedians, so there you go.
I think I realize it every day. It's weird. I think I feel it every day. I mean, I've been around long enough now that that I'm clearly devoted to it and I clearly love it. But it's gone past the honeymoon stage a long time ago, and it's gone through the business stage of it. It's gone through, and I had to refine my love for it. I mean, I adored being a stand-up comic for the first however many months I did it, and then I fell out of love with it because I had other things and I didn't. And I started at a weird time. So I went through a phase where I wasn't very plugged into it, and then I took about 2.5 years off. And when I came back to it, I was in love with it again, and I did it, and I did it, and I did it, and I for at that point 7.5 years just solid. As many shows, I get hundreds, 300-400 shows a year, every year, just everything I could do. I just wanted to be around, even through the hard stuff, through the business of it. But you have to remind yourself of why you want to be there. You have to, and it's not just people think that bombing is bad, or that dealing with hecklers is bad. It's not that. The part that pushes you out of stand-up comedy, or the part that pushes me out, is when comedy becomes about the business and not about the joy of it. And so I think that I find ways to rediscover the joy in it. I find ways to challenge myself and scare myself and do new things, and like we talked about earlier, the evolution of style, I think that's a big part of it. I got to a point about 5 years ago where I really was not happy with what I was doing. I had lost my joy for it, and so I basically took it apart again to save myself. So I took everything apart and thought, okay, how can I fix it? Threw everything away and started again, and then threw it away and started again and threw it away. And that gives you joy too. The creation of it gives you joy.
I knew it was what I wanted to do from like 14, and I had it affirmed to me that I was capable of it when I did my first gig, which is a bit early to get confident, but like the confidence that came from my first gig spurred me through my next 99, and by the time I got to 100 gigs, I was good, and then it's just been building since then. It's taken me ages to get to the point where people are praising what I'm doing. A lot of the time it was really hit and miss for a really long period of time. It was like doing great, or only the comedians think I'm funny, which just means that you're being way too meta and you're being way too self-referential and weird.
If you want to be reasonably successful and to the point where you're making a living from it, like financially successful, you've got to tailor what you're doing to like the live club circuit, maybe some corporate stuff as well, and that is going to generally funnel you in the direction of doing a very particular style of comedy about particular things. And that's not necessarily a direction that I would want to go in. I would rather keep this sort of thing as something that I really enjoy. I always want to be able to pick and choose the gigs that I do and never be kind of like shoved into doing like a bad gig for terrible people in a grotty room at the arse end of the country just because I need the money. I'd rather keep it as something that's special, that I enjoy, that isn't spoiled by, base material considerations. That, I don't want to spoil this by having to like do it for money, basically. A lot like sexual intercourse in that respect. Like, I'd rather keep it special by not having to be paid to do it. I realise it's not a very sex positive thing to say. At the same time, it's something that I really like. It should be done with a small, special, select group of audience that you really love. That's how you keep it an intimate and important experience, I think.
That stereotype of Bill Hicks being kind of relentlessly political and aggressive. I think for whatever reason I thought all stand-up was like that. I hadn't seen Bill Hicks, but I had that idea that's what stand-up was. And then I saw Bill Bailey's Part Troll on DVD at a friend's house and laughed my arse off and thought, that's something I want to do. Yeah, but then for years at school I'd be saying I'm going to do stand-up any day now, I'm going to do it. But it wasn't until I was about 20, so after years of showing off and going I'm going to be great at it, I actually got round to doing it and I was okay at it. Yeah.
I did a best man speech for my best mate, and I spent 6 months working on it. Not constantly, but just now and again something that popped into my head and I jot it down. And when it came to writing the speech, I had loads of material and I did like a 20-minute really, really good, it went really well and I got a great load of laughs, and that's when I wanted to do comedy, really.
And then the other thing I find about laughter is I've always had this tendency to laugh on really dark things, like, my grandfather died when I was 8 and I got the giggles at the funeral. Oh, my mother slapped me out afterwards. But I couldn't stop giggling, because you're only a kid And it is a bit shocking. And then the coffin got stuck, and the priest had to come and, you know, yank the curtain and push the coffin in. And I was hilarious. I thought that was hilarious. Brilliant sketch. My mum was she never forgave me for that.
I realised that this was what I wanted to do before I did it. So when I was probably about 12, maybe a little bit younger, I used to tell my mum and dad that I was going to be a sit-down comedian because I wanted to be a comedian, but I was also lazy. And so I've always wanted to do that. And then I wanted to do acting for a bit, and I went to college and studied acting, but I realised that I didn't like the kind of confines and the restrictiveness of acting. And so I ended up leaving college and just getting frustrated with the whole thing.
I think it was about 6 years ago that I started entertaining the idea, and I've been writing jokes for most of my life. Unfortunately, I've been writing them down for the last 2 years. So there's a lot of jokes, and when I come up with, sometimes it's like a muscle memory. It's almost like, maybe I said this before. So, yeah, about 2.5 years ago, I was really like, I'm going to do this. And the funny thing was, I was working with a guy and he came to my first show, and he genuinely said this. He was like, I had no inkling that he was funny in any way. It was just like...
And so when I turned 30, I thought, okay, if I don't do it now, something to do with comedy, I have to give up the idea of it forever. And that made me so upset. I was like, no, I have to do something. So my friend had signed up to a comedy course like a year before. He told me about it, and I just went, okay. And I looked online, and the next one, this was on a Wednesday, the next course was starting on Monday, and I thought, oh no, I'll just wait until the next one. And I was like, no, if I do that, it's not happening. So I signed up to this course, and yeah, it wasn't necessarily stand-up that I wanted to get into. I wanted to do more either writing or like sort of sitcom, like comedy acting, rather than stand-up. But I thought, let's just go into stand-up because it's the purest form of comedy, really. It's live, it's authentic, it's real, it's just you and the audience, or a couple of you in the audience. And I thought this is the best way just to throw myself in at the deep end.
I left year 12. There was nothing else for me to do. Like, I can't use my hands, I can't walk proper. Yeah, I use my voice, it's easy, simple, and gives me money, so why not?
I think it was the first time I did a proper street show and passed the hat and got more money than I would have earned, you know, doing a whole day's work in a pub, which was where I was working before. And that's when I just thought, well, this is what I want to do then. And yeah, I think that was the moment. And I've never done apart from the teaching at Southampton, I've never done any kind of actual job since.
I went to drama school for a couple of years. I dropped out and I got tattooed quite massively. And you know, after that, I realised, you know, being this tattooed, I can't exactly come swanning over the moors in Pride and Prejudice or anything. So I'm going to have to do something else rather than just being cast as like drug dealers, etc. And if I do comedy, which I always loved anyway, and I always thought I was kind of funny, and people told me I was funny, so fingers crossed other people do find me funny. And I just kind of got into that, and it graduated on from there. It's just a drive to be creative, I guess, and also just I've done retail, I've done office jobs, I've done hospitality, and taking orders from people is not something I want to do anymore. But you know, being told you got 10 minutes on stage, or give you 30 seconds to get off, that's fine with me. I can do that for the rest of my life.
Always enjoyed it. I passionately love watching comedy. Well, it's so much fun, isn't it? Just watching the comedians, and when you start to understand, you know, I mean, I don't yet, but really, but when you start to understand some of the writing, when you do writing for yourself, you kind of get a grip. You see what they do and kind of enjoy. You appreciate that as well. It's quite, yeah, it's fun. It's fun.
I can tell you're out of breath.
Yeah, just running down the stairs.
I did I think it was my third gig, and then it went really well, and I thought, this feels really nice. I'm finally getting more attention than anybody else in the room. You know what I mean? It's like you feel that power come over, and you're like, you know, like when you learn to drive for the first time, and you think, God, I can kill somebody. And it's exactly the same feeling of the rush of thinking I can say fuck and nobody's going to tell me off, until afterwards, obviously.
But I'm not actually a stereotypical Glaswegian. I'm actually I'm not kind of tough guy or anything. I'm actually a gay person. Yeah, one man going, hey, I'm up for that. No, it's weird, I know, I don't really look gay. Some of you are looking at me as if I've just said I'm black, like, oh, I'm actually gay, right? I've just never been able to, like, come across that. Well, in Glasgow, I'm quite camp because sometimes I wear a scarf, but... I've just never been able to do the camp thing, man. I've never, like, been able to put on camp or anything. Like, some people can pull camp off really well. Well done, mate. Complete respect for you, man, but... I've just never been able to do it. And the thing is, I'd actually like to be camp. I honestly would. Like, because I know it's a bit of a cliche, but I think camp people seem quite happy. You know, you never see fights in gay bars. You see the odd tantrum, but you never see a fight. I'd say, I think if all world leaders were camp, I don't think we would ever have another war. Just them all going, no, don't invade me, that's nasty. And people come up to me after gigs, man, and they say, you know what it is? Are you actually gay first? And I go, yeah. And they go, you know what it is? You just don't have a gay face. Well, I've done my research. I think the gay face might be this one. And I know it doesn't help that I kind of look like a lesbian rapper, but...
And I'm gonna try and get on TV, actually. That might be quite nice. Yeah, I could pay those bills, but but I genuinely don't have anything else apart from my set.
No, fair play.
This is so depressing.
Oh God.